The dust motes danced in the lone shaft of sunlight slicing through the musty air of the thrift store. Zach, as he often did on a slow Tuesday afternoon, was idly sifting through a forgotten box of electronics, a graveyard of retro gadgets and tangled wires. Most of it was junk, of course, but every now and then a hidden gem would gleam from beneath the detritus. And that day, it did. His fingers brushed against something cool, hard, and surprisingly clean. He pulled it out. It was a Polaroid camera. Not one of the sleek, modern reproductions, but a true vintage model, its plastic casing a faded cream, its lens big and unblinking. It felt solid in his hands, a forgotten relic from an analog age. A quick shake revealed a slight rattle inside, and a check of the film compartment showed it was empty. Perfect. A project. Zach smiled, feeling the familiar tug of discovery. For a mere $5, it was his. Back home, with a fresh pack of Impossible Project film loaded, Zach decided to test his new acquisition. He stepped onto his front porch, the afternoon sun warm on his face, the quiet hum of the suburban street a comforting backdrop. He aimed the camera at his vibrant hydrangeas, their purple blooms a cheerful splash of color against the green. He clicked the shutter, the satisfying whirring sound echoing in the stillness. A moment later, the white square slid out, developing instantly as promised. He watched, fascinated, as the image slowly resolved. The hydrangeas, they weren't there. His brow furrowed in confusion. Instead, the photo showed the inside of his house. And not just any part of his house, but his living room window, seen from the perspective of someone standing inside. And behind the glass, indistinct yet undeniably present, was a dark, shadowy figure. It was tall, slender, its form a blot against the familiar curtains, its head barely visible above the window frame. A chill, sudden and sharp, prickled Zach's skin. His mind raced, struggling to reconcile the mundane reality of his porch with the impossible image in his hand. He hadn't been looking at his window, he'd been looking at his flowers. This camera, it showed what was behind him. A shiver traced its way down his spine. The figure, was it really there, just inside? His heart began to pound, a frantic drum against his ribs. He didn't hesitate. Dropping the Polaroid onto the porch swing, he burst through his front door, yelling, "Hello, is anyone there?" His voice, usually steady, cracked with a fear he rarely felt. He swept through the living room, checking behind the sofa, peering into the shadowed corners. He rushed into the kitchen, then the dining room, his eyes scanning every space. Nothing. The house was utterly empty, steeped in the quiet afternoon light. The only sounds were his own ragged breaths. He stood in the middle of his living room, the space that had just appeared so menacing in the photo, and slowly a wave of relief washed over him, almost dizzying in its intensity. It must have been a trick of the light, a faulty film, or maybe even an anomaly of the old camera itself. He tried to rationalize, to push the image of the dark figure from his mind. Yet a sliver of unease remained, a cold knot in his stomach. Stepping back onto the porch, he picked up the camera. His hand trembled slightly. He had to know, he had to be sure. Taking a deep breath, he turned, this time facing the street, his back deliberately towards his house. He held the camera up, his finger hovering over the shutter button. This time, he reasoned, the photo should show the back of his head or perhaps the street behind him. He clicked. The whirring started again, painfully loud in the sudden silence. The square slid out. Zach gripped it, his eyes fixed on the developing image. The street wasn't there. Instead, the photo showed him, his back, and standing directly behind him, impossibly close, its form clearer, more defined than before, was the dark figure. Its head was tilted, as if observing him. There was no face, just a deeper void in the shadow, yet Zach felt an overwhelming sense of being watched, an entity breathing down his neck. A choked gasp escaped his lips. This was no trick of light. This was real. and it was here, with him. He spun around, his head whipping left and right, his eyes darting frantically. The porch was empty, the air was still, but the photo in his hand screamed a different truth. Panic clawed at his throat, tightening its grip. He stumbled backward, his foot catching on the porch swing, sending him sprawling onto the rough wood. The camera clattered to the ground beside him. He scrambled to his feet, desperate to get away, to run, but his legs felt like lead. His mind screamed for him to move, to escape, but some morbid, terrifying compulsion held him rooted. He had to take another. He had to see. His hands shaking uncontrollably, he fumbled for the camera, picking it up with a jerky motion. He didn't even bother to aim, just held it out in front of him, his eyes squeezed shut, his finger slamming down on the shutter. The whir, the slide. He forced his eyes open, bracing himself. The image that bloomed was devastatingly clear. It was him again, but closer this time. His face contorted in abject terror, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream. And the figure, it filled the frame behind him, not quite touching, but so incredibly near that its shadowed form seemed to eclipse everything else. Its featureless head was now level with his, its presence a suffocating weight. Then, with a sickening lurch in his stomach, he realized something even more horrifying. He hadn't clicked the shutter yet, not for this photo. He was still standing there, camera raised, his finger hovering over the button. The whirring sound had stopped. The film door was shut, but the photo was already in his hand. It was him, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream, a scream that was about to break free, a scream captured before it was ever uttered, the photo before the scream. The camera, this unsettling, macabre device, had not just shown him what was behind him, it had shown him what was about to happen, a premonition, an unholy prophecy. And as his gaze remained fixed on the frozen image of his own terrified face, the silence of the porch became a deafening roar. Sometimes the objects we find, the forgotten relics of a bygone era, hold more than just memories. They can hold echoes of the unseen, gateways to the unimaginable. Zach's story, if you can call it a story, reminds us that what we don't see can often be the most terrifying truth, and that some mysteries are best left undisturbed, particularly those that promise to show you a future you desperately wish you didn't have to face. What are your thoughts on Zach's unnerving discovery? Have you ever encountered something that defied explanation? Share your stories and theories in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this exploration into the mysterious and the macabre, please consider subscribing for more tales that might just make you look twice over your shoulder.